Jimmy crack corn, and I don't care. Who was that? I have to, yeah. I guess so.
That
folk
was
music.
Abraham Lincoln's favorite song.
Jimmy crack corn. Is that right? His favorite song. And
You know why? It's an abolitionist ballad.
Talk me.
The slave is knocking the master off the horse, and I don't care. My
Is that
master's
right?
gone away.
It was my mother's favorite song. I played it for my
And
mother over and over.
Lincoln-
Burr Lives. Burr
Yeah.
Lives is how I know that too.
Okay, and Lincoln used to play the harmonica to that song. It's way more serious than everybody thinks.
Give it credit for you to know it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And did my mom have any idea about its implications? Hi, Gary Gillett. Hey, look, man, we got a different This is about the most anemic little plant I've ever seen. I don't know if we can call it a plant, maybe a plantette. Hey, I'm here with Stephen Glueckert, and he's got some instruments and a life to chat about, and I don't know the dude, all right? It was Scott's idea, and I went, well, heck yeah, let's find out what's going on. So we'll chat, we'll get to know Steve and his art and his arts. All right, he's kind of a Renaissance man, that's how I'm seeing it. That so many of us as artists that we usually are pigeonholed, and I know I am. I tried that visual stuff. I got a brother who's got a master's in visual arts. I know I can't draw. I know both of my kids flourished, even though the lack of art education in the public schools in Missoula. And so I was always taking my kids out for any additional experiences in education, art, summer times, during the breaks, because like we had an art teacher that would go around the elementary schools and our kids would get art like once a month or some ridiculous thing like that when we had band 5 days a week, and that was just fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't equitable, and they're working on it. Hey, this is Steve Glueckert.
Yeah.
What's the ethnicity of that?
It is German.
It is. Does it mean something in German? Or
Yes, it does.
And?
It means person who's lucky or fortunate person.
Oh, hell, you were born with a silver spoon. God dang. Oh, my God. Okay, good. That's great. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born here in Missoula.
Were you really?
Yeah.
A native?
Yes, yeah.
God dang. Two of them in the same room.
And I love Missoula. And I've had a background in the arts, as you mentioned, and I worked 24 years as a curator at the Missoula Art Museum.
That's how most of us know you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, most people probably. And as an exhibiting artist, and I've written a great deal about the visual arts in Montana. And, at the same time, I think of, and just like you were talking, the visual arts and music, to me, they're all kind of mixed up, and they're like a spider web that crosses over and over each other.
Instead of these tracks that many of us get stuck into, both by institutions and by ourselves. I'm a musician. That's what I am. I don't even say artist because I always feel like, I'm not really an artist. I'm a horn blower is what I am. But a much more humanities approach to arts are arts themselves, and there's more similarities than there are differences amongst us.
Well, and I think a lot of times you'll discover, like I think of this a lot with many visual artists who play music, and there's a lot of them. that, you know, if you talk to them, almost to every single one of them has had a really supportive parent or family who's encouraged them in the art.
Mm-hmm.
And that was certainly the case with my mother. And she would make us sing, not make us, she would have us sing and try to teach us how to read music. I mean, she was really a gifted musician. And, pianist, organist. He played organ here in Missoula and at different churches in Missoula.
Okay.
And but she was really passionate about all of us. And I had 8 brothers. We were all encouraged to sing and play instruments if we were able to.
And were you able?
You know, I I think it's kind of strange because I kind of I would say.
Notice how his answer is not straightforward.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
I think, you know, my brothers were gifted pianists and guitar players, and I picked up the guitar left-handed. My mom was saying, well, what do you want to play? We'd like for you to play something. And I said, a banjo. And she's going, oh, no.
All this work and a sucker wants to play banjo.
And so she kind of steered me away from the banjo, for sure.
Yeah, very much a plebeian instrument. It was seen as, a back shelf kind of deal. It was kind of a rough instrument.
Yeah.
And, it got popular because it was so damn loud you could hear it in bars and places.
And so, I became really serious about the visual arts and art history.
And you could have been a banjo player, huh? Dang!
At the same time, I did go out and buy my own banjo, and I've played banjo, not very well, as probably, but I really enjoy it.
It's not an easy instrument to play at all, man. There's so few players around here.
Yeah. Well, there's some good ones in Missoula. There's some really amazing ones.
Yeah.
But I love playing, and I can play along. So my exposure to musical instruments has all been pretty self-taught.
Okay.
And then, a funny story about that is every time I would try to take a lesson or something, I picked up it left-handed. And so my brothers were going, "You're not learning the guitar. You're lefty.
Yeah.
You're not doing it. Just stick with the visual art." And so I had to, I really have taught myself, but I've had to teach myself right-handed.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Because banjo is even more difficult with the drone to restring it. Guitars we can take and restring, and we encourage that.
Yeah.
Banjo probably doesn't work that way, right? Because of that dang drone. I mean, it gets a shorter string.
You could pick up a tenor and switch them pretty easily, but I mean, there's hardly.
That wasn't encouraged. And as music teachers, during our.
Did you steer people to be right-handed?
Some of the instruments have got to be played right-handed.
Yeah.
Band instruments. Everyone, they're all designed.
Clarinets.
They're all designed for the right-hand dominance, except one instrument of the wind instrument.
What would be?
Trombone.
Okay.
You can take a trombone and just twist that sucker 100. And we see bozo kids doing it. It was so much fun to take a look at the first time I was my first year teaching, and I looked over at this kid. It was a native kid in a little reservation town I was teaching, and he was a senior in high school, and it's just something that didn't look right. It took me weeks to finally figure out. Well, you got that sucker backwards, and he was almost offended at it. And I was just amazed at the fact that why shouldn't he play left-handed? He's left-handed, and this instrument can accommodate. Yeah. And as there's more and more of that going on because we ought to be accommodating individuals instead
Well,
of jamming them into these.
And I've always thought of, it's really great talking to you because, music education and art education have many of the same challenges, and that you want families to encourage kids, like be supportive.
That's how it
and
grows.
Yeah, it's really critical. And, there's also kind of the rebellious stage of a musician deciding they're going to be a musician. They're going to be the rebel.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Just to be a rebel.
Yeah.
How are you going to make a living?
Yeah.
My parents, I don't ever remember my parents asking that. But then again, I was always an education track. So I knew I was going to be a teacher from 16 years old or something like that. And being a teacher in their blue collar life was like pedestal stuff. Oh, a teacher? Yeah. Well, that'd be fine, Gary. And they were very supportive of my music education. And you taught? Did you?
Yes,
so in Malaysia?
I taught. Actually, I taught in Idaho for 10 years at the Northwest Children's Home.
And is that institutionalized?
Yeah, that would. It was.
Kind of like Warm Springs is to us?
No. We had different levels of care for kids, from adoption to group homes.
Okay.
And so we were, I taught there for 10 years. And then came here and actually worked as a curator in Great Falls for a couple of years, and then came to Missoula, back to my home, and worked here 24 years altogether, but I did take a 2-year leave of absence to teach in Papua New Guinea. Okay. And I was teaching visual arts there. And that is another kind of crazy story because the first day I got there, I went down to a music store and I wanted to buy a guitar, but I asked them to take the banjo down, and when I started playing the banjo, there was a crowd of 200 people outside that had never heard the banjo.
Sure.
And they still haven't. But I tuned it up and I
gave them an approximation.
Yeah, I played a couple songs, and I played in the Opera House there. The National House there. I played some Johnny Cash tunes. And just have some, the hunger for American music. Americans don't really understand that in other parts of the world there's a tremendous hunger for American jazz, particularly blues, but also country.
Yeah,
country music.
Our culture.
Yes, and it's a melting pot of ideas, and so I became very close with the guys teaching in the music department.
Sure. Because
they always wanted me to come and play, and then at night I played with them sometimes in town. And
was it an international school, a private?
It was a national university of Papua New Guinea. So all of the people who attended there were people from New Guinea. They were all Melanesian young people. So they had come from different parts.
What a cool deal, man.
Well, it was, I'll say that I learned more than I taught, for sure.
And how did you find out about the gig?
I had a friend who was teaching there, who was in the art department. Joanna Hayes was her name, and she was teaching art history. And there had been a vacancy there for a while in teaching sculpture. And can you apply? And I applied, and was hired and went through the gauntlet of going through all of the requirements.
The vetting and the
Yeah,
shots.
that's
and
right, everything. And then went and taught there all of 1998. And, it's a country that's there was a lot of chaos going on there. There was
Is it colonial country yet or not?
It's an independent country. Papua New Guinea's gained their independence in 1975
From Britain? Was it?
from Australia.
Oh, okay.
After World War I, it was split between Papua and New Guinea, Germany and England, and then it was unified, and then Irian Jaya, or West Papua, that had been the Dutch East Indies.
Okay.
So all of this kind of World War II changed it all. And Papua New Guinea, half of the island, gained their independence in 1975 from Australia. And Australia is still a close support, and the Americans are very supportive. And, it's an independent country that's emerging.
Sure, finding their footing.
Yeah. And, I played a lot of really cool instruments down there.
I bet.
Like cool mouth harp and some amazing drums. Some amazing drums aside, like 40-foot drums, that were log split drums that just were amazing. And kundus, smaller drums, dance drums. They had these bamboo stick things that were like rattles, but they were tuned. They were amazing,
All indigenous, or at least historically indigenous.
Yeah. Well, it's the country is emerging, I would say. So it's and I'm really fascinated with the music, visual arts, everything, and it's all mixed up to me. So it's it's all important, and it's all going to go on in spite of what our intentions are.
Sure.
Music's going to happen.
Yep.
Whether no matter what
endorse
we do.
it or not.
Right. The arts evolve naturally, and they become natural, because people want it.
Yeah, we need it. We seek it out.
That's right.
Many of us do.
Yeah.
And then some of us help facilitate it in our roles over time, besides being practitioners in it and appreciation. I'm in that whole realm of more promoting than actually making music anymore.
How does music have any significance unless it's shared?
Yes.
Unless there's a communal aspect, it's not even. And
it's so selfish, and it doesn't bring, for most of us, it's not joy bringing. It's with a group and to be able to share both the sounds and the visual, and then the emotional aspect that we bring and take away from the art.
Yeah. So I being outside of the culture, I think you look back at America and you realize that America is, or our music has a fearlessness about it. And what I mean by that is we don't fear to mix things up.
Yeah.
I mean, and in many cultures, that's a taboo.
Right. They are tracked on the genres that they participate in.
Yeah, but in America, like you can go to, like when you're leading the band and sit there and realize that, here's John Philip Sousa, and then we can have that going on, and then we can have a choral expression from another country, like back to back. And it's all Americans are just absorbing that.
Yeah.
It's fearless.
I like that.
And I think that the visual arts are that way, a little less so, because I think people kind of can get really territorial. But that's one of the really wonderful things about American art and culture, and especially music, you know. And you don't have to appreciate it. You don't even have to like it all.
No.
But you
can participate in it and experience it and then take what you will or not.
Yeah.
Without dismissing it.
Yeah.
That may not be your cup of tea, but it doesn't mean that it's not important or valid.
Yeah.
Even country music, yes. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. You know, okay, it's taken me a long time.
You're listening to the wrong people.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm a Midwesterner is what it was, and grew up with a steady diet of rock and roll. But there was always Lawrence Welk and Give me cracked corn, and I don't care. Who was that? I have to, yeah. I guess so.
That was music. Abraham Lincoln's favorite song.
Jimmy Crack Corn? Is that right? His favorite song. And
you know why? It's an abolitionist ballad.
Talk me.
Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. It's the slave is knocking the master off the horse, and I don't care. My master's gone away.
It was my mother's favorite song. I played it for my mother over and over. Burl Ives. Burl Ives is how I know that too.
Okay, and Lincoln used to play the harmonica to that song. I mean, and I read that in the Alan Lomax.
Oh yeah, his recording series.
But I have a book of the Lomaxes, and it's I love the history of these songs and these music, and my master's gone away, and then you bury him below under the persimmon tree, and you're blaming the blue-tail fly for biting the horse. You're off the hook. Because
it was the fly. Okay. Hot day.
No, I think that's a remarkable song. It's way more serious than everybody thinks.
Give it credit for you to know it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And did my mom have any idea about its implications, or just the fact she loved Burl Ives? She would let me play the records, and I'm sure I've screwed up the records and skidded the needle and all that stuff.
You
but
just
she
didn't
let
like
me
country
play
music. He was a folkie.
I'm a folkie. Yeah, I'm a folkie.
Yeah.
And it took me till moving out west to appreciate Johnny Cash finally.
Well,
so early country.
Yeah.
And now there's plenty of stuff that one of the first country tunes I liked. Work my fingers to the bone. What do you get? Bony fingers. I heard that sucker.
You're converted.
Maybe in the
You are
70s.
converted.
That was it. Maybe in the 70s. I was like, oh my God, that's so good. That just hits it right there.
Yeah.
Work my fingers to the bone, and what do I get, man? I got bony fingers.
Well, I brought a couple instruments today.
I love to hear and see, and the fact is that you made you didn't make the album.
No.
But you made this instrument.
Hurdy Gurdy, yeah.
And it's because the pandemic hit, and you couldn't go get one, so you made it.
Well, I didn't. I was wanted to go play one because in 1990, my wife and I traveled to every province in Canada.
Right.
And we got to Quebec City, and we were walking late at night. And there was a man playing one of these. And he was hanging it up. And I'd never seen one. And I said, hey, can I play that? And he goes, he was French.
Okay.
And at the time, there was this tension that...
Well, they wanted to almost succeed from the Union up there.
Yeah, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
but he wanted me to speak French. I speak no French. And he said, no, go ahead. So I picked it up and I just fell in love with it. Well, that was 1990, and I hadn't even really seen one since. And so when the pandemic hit, I thought, man, I want to go out there and visit this guy out in Seattle who makes. And then we couldn't even travel. You remember how the pandemic was?
Man. We locked down.
And then, so my wife says, well, there's a kit online. And I said, okay, well, when the kit came, it was a bunch of wood. And so I made some, put it together, and I made some of my own.
Adjustments?
Yes.
Oh,
very much so.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's originally these were called organistrums, which they were large, and they had one person cranking.
That's right. It was a two-person operation.
Yeah. And but the origin of the instrument, there's different stories, but they're French in origin, and in the 16th and 17th century, they were very much liturgical.
Yes, it predated organs. In churches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, but what's happened since? They kind of fell out of favor, and the French called them vielle de roue, or the wheel violin.
Okay.
And the hurdy-gurdy, it was an English term, and it was developed to kind of make fun of them.
Derogatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they've become known as, and that's okay. But I have always wanted one, and I've always wanted to play one. So
I didn't make it yourself. So it's your visual artist combining with your musical side and making and producing the instrument. Much of your art is physical manipulations. I've seen.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And you know how I think also visual art and music has a lot to do with compartmentalizing, counting, knowing your periods of quiet versus action. And that's very much the case. This is really a primitive instrument.
Yeah.
And so there's a wheel here, and you can see there's some cotton on the strings, and that's put on there so the strings roll.
Okay.
And they don't wear on one side and break.
All right.
And so this is rosin. This is a piece of black walnut, and it took me forever to get that trued. I
bet this,
and that was a little tricky.
I bet, because if it's not perfectly trued and round, you'll get the pitch variation going on.
Yeah, that's right. So that's like a bow.
Okay.
On this, and so anyway, I'll just
and then the instrument's got drone strings.
2 drones,
like a bagpipe. So there's this underlying in music. I think it's a fifth. What 2 tones are they?
C and G. Well, it depends on what you want. This is an Aeolian tuning.
Okay.
And so basically, and you can get hurdy-gurdies which are up to 16 strings. And my goal in the next 5 years is to make one a 6-stringer from scratch. I'm going to. But I'll figure it out.
So C and G?
C and G.
Okay, which is in musical terms, that's a perfect fifth. And that's the same drone interval as bagpipes use.
Yeah. And then these are C. And then C, this is the part this is all gravity. There's no springs.
That's nice, man.
It is really cool. And then I put felt in here to silence.
To knock it.
Yeah. And so this is an octave and a half, really.
And it's very much laid out just like keyboard of piano or all the keyboard instruments. It plays a diatonic scale, or is it chromatic? Titanic. Oh
It
my
is?
God!
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
In musical terminology.
You have to play this.
I want you to play it first.
Okay.
It's something that you know.
Okay.
What a unique sound. Da, 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 dee, da, 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 ba-dum, ba-da-da. What's the name of this? Turn.
No, shaker. It's a shaker.
Shaker tune.
It's a joy to be.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift
Here, why
to
don't you-
come back where you. And I'm thinking maybe it's minor tune. That while you're playing that, an Aeolian is another way of talking about modes, which is scale combinations that we've given names to. An Aeolian is indeed what we refer to in Western music as minor.
Yeah. See, this is one of the things that I love so much is that about this instrument, it's really great with kids. And like
Sure.
I took this to family reunion, and it's pretty durable. It's really kind of a rough instrument, you know.
Yeah.
You got to put your hand over the top here.
Oh yeah.
And
There it is.
And you see these keys are pretty close together.
Yeah. Well, the further you go up on a string,
The more distortion you're going to
and the closer those intervals are.
Right,
The
right.
shorter the string,
Right.
the closer together they
And
are.
that took me forever.
I bet, trying to make a scale out of it,
Yeah.
and
And the other
you make
thing,
it sound so easy, and it's not. It looks like all you gotta do is turn the crank on the sucker. Oh
you're
God!
doing fine. I mean, and my little brother carved this for me on the front here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, I asked him if he'd do that. So,
that's beautiful and all inlaid.
yeah, it's kind of.
I'm gonna see if I can get a drone sound. Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No,
You-
that's it. The strap down.
So you can read the notes from up here by looking at these. Put your hand, these things. See?
Oh, okay, you see where
Yeah.
you're at.
Yeah.
Flat 7. Did you hear? So I've been trying to, and it's not intentional, and I'm not much of a music theorist, but my ears delve to try to make sense of the sounds I hear. And then once I get a grip on that, then I can begin to understand about what's going on. So it was a major scale up until that point. And then instead of the note on the Sound of Music being T,
Yeah.
T, do, no, it's ta. It's a half step lower than that, which makes it scale a minor setting. Now is there something? There isn't. That's not. God dang it. So it's and why it's called Aeolian, that's got me, because it usually means minor. It's not necessarily, but it's got a minor seventh to it, which gives it a characteristic sound. And it happens to be the tuning that you prefer, or the one that was suggested for this instrument?
No,
Or is it common? That's
it
what
is common. It's common.
Oh,
But I haven't ever played this with another musical instrument. But the instrument I want to play this with in the St. Patty's Day Parade, which has been canceled the last time, is a drum, a bodhrán.
Oh, okay, a bodhrán. Got it.
That's what I want to walk with this and play with the bodhrán, because I can do some Irish. So, I mean, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
And it can't double stop.
You can go back and forth.
And now does it? I read somewhere. Can you vibrate? Can you vibrate?
I think if you're good,
guitar players will do that. Advanced guitar players will get on a note and then lightly vibrato that. And I read that that's a possibility here because of the physical sensation.
Well, this is considered a Middle Ages version, the 4-string. Okay. But to me, it's like having a race car. I mean, and I just love it. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I'm spending my time.
It's very much this kind of deal that again.
Well, you pick this up.
Yeah, I play half-ass guitar myself, or I used to. Yeah. I was wise enough to give.
And so when you store it, you have to pull the strings off.
Sure, to release that tension.
And then, but when you see these people who are really gifted playing, they're doing the things that you're talking about, like the vibrato on the pressing, and they're vibrating the string, and they're getting that out of it. I'm trying to learn notes, and I'm just loving it.
Oh, that's
and
so
I also
cool.
love sharing it with people. So.
And the fact that that it's child friendly, you can bring it to families, and kids can mess with it.
Yeah.
And try to figure it out.
I've gone through a few strings. The strings are a little spendy now.
I bet. Now, is there a sound post?
No.
Between?
No.
Hey, you were pretty cool with that. It was like that damn thing. I almost took a header right there. You didn't even blink.
No.
Because I was looking for a sound post, in
like in violins.
Yeah, violins, guitars have got a post that connects the back to the face, and it's an acoustical enhancement.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that when I make my 6-string. I'm gonna do that, but I'm making a different shape. But I have the wood drying right now.
So you've picked out what wood you want.
Right. Well, I have some spruce, and then I have a friend who has a spruce, which will be that he is going to get me some more, because the first spruce I got, I'm going to use it on I'm making a dulcimer for myself, which I like dulcimers. They're
so cool. They're so much fun to play.
Well, I'm thrilled you enjoy that.
Oh, that's cool, man.
And it's kids can jump in on it, and you can be not frightened.
Yeah.
Very
approachable.
I have a guitar that I won't let kids play.
Yeah.
And I just want
how about a song on the auto harp,
there,
cowboy?
Hey,
before you get away from me, I saw that your grandfather was born Ingmar.
He homesteaded
up there. Yeah. I was driving across the state with my younger son, and we went out 200 and came back 12 instead of taking the freeway. Yeah. And we ended up at the Jersey Lily in England. Yeah, we sure did. My kid wanted to stop right there. To hell with it all. It's for sale.
I know.
The Jersey Lily's for sale.
I know it.
But that's where the kin were from. Parents go to
my grandfather, he was there in 1910, and
homesteader.
Yeah, homesteaded, and then he went to World War I, And when he came back from World War I, he drove freight with horses between Forsyth and Bozeman.
Okay.
And he ended up in Bozeman. But yeah, we have a connection to that country, and he, I go back in Montana 6 generations, so it's we're connected to this place. I don't ever see myself leaving Montana. I write music about Montana.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have so many challenges here culturally, and the treatment of indigenous people, and a lot of people have been mistreated in many ways in the state, and we have a lot of things to make up.
Yeah.
And but we also live in a place where people are really generous and kind to one another too. So
so we continue that and then try to multiply on it.
I wanted to show you this.
An auto harp, for folks that don't play guitar. I mean, that's how I knew it as.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a special auto harp because one, I inherited it. This was my mother's.
Oh,
and
God.
this is a Centennial Oscar Schmidt. So
I don't know that.
Okay, so Oscar Schmidt took a zither. He was an immigrant into the country, and in 1876, he invented the fingerboard.
Oh.
Oscar Schmidt.
Here in the States. It's
an American instrument.
Oh.
And this one is a Centennial. It was made in 1976, and this was my mother's, and I inherited this from my mom, so I love playing it.
Oh, sure, when you grab a hold of it, you're hugging Mom right now. Oh, my mother left me a C melody saxophone. God, man, I had to give that damn thing away. Your own?
No.
What was it?
That's a Paganini. My mom was really gifted. She played all that stuff.
Again, and if folks don't know, that's just chord. They're chords, but they're laid out in particular ways.
Well, in Oscar Schmidt, when he first invented, I had one of his first ones, and it was simply 8 keys. And you see each of these has a design underneath it of felt that comes down and silences certain keys.
Yeah.
And this is 32 strings, so it's a half of a spinet. Half of a small piano. And a zither is usually between 32 and 64 strings.
Okay, and a zither is a kind of auto harp?
A zither is a flat, it's Eastern European, it's from the Greek, Turkey, came from that area, and it could be played just by fingering without this whole contraption on here. And of course, many of them are large.
Sure.
And they're challenging to play.
I bet. Trying to pick out.
You picking out the strings, and
there's no accidents going on. There's no preset, man.
Right.
You got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. It's like opening up the top of a piano and playing.
Trying to play melody with it.
With your fingers.
Yeah.
And there's people who know how to do that. There's not a lot of zither players around. I saw one in Butte, I really wanted to play that thing.
Yeah, I bet. And if there's going to be a zither player, hell yeah, in Butte.
At the folk festival.
Okay, yeah.
And it's such a beautiful instrument.
It sure is,
And
man. And it's your mother's.
yeah, well, anyway.
Dang.
So I just wanted to bring these things in and share and talk about the arts, and I just respect all your work and everything you're.
To be able to share, to be able to share the arts and in a medium that folks can tune in. It's a pleasure meeting you, good sir. And I think that we'll be doing some more stuff together.
Okay,
I'd love it.
that's cool.
Hey, Steve Glueckert's been here with us today, and you'll hear from us again, that's for sure.
Okay.
Take care. It's Gary Gillett and Music in Missoula. Ciao.
Heading down the road, we'll be with you soon. Heading down the road with a big balloon. We're a medicine show, we'll be with you very, very soon.